Perdue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my colleague from Maine, Senator King, in most respects. I differ with just two minor points. I want to get to my other point just a minute, but I want to respond because he's got a great point. We have another option. Let me remind people on both sides of the House. I think we all know that the fiscal irresponsibility of the last 30 years cannot continue. It just can't. This is not a partisan question. The issue, though, is that we've got the 800-pound gorilla in the room that we never talk about. The last time we had a balanced budget in this country, we had a Democratic president, and we had a Republican Congress. We also had something called a dot-com bubble and 10 years of good interest rates, but I won't go there either. I will say this. It was not our fiscal responsibility in Washington that caused that surplus. It was an economy that was growing like crazy, and I was participating in that. We have that opportunity again, but we're doing so many things in this city to thwart that growth to give us an opportunity to dig out of here, because he's right. The math doesn't work. You're not going to solve the future unfunded liabilities unless we get this economy going, and even then, it's going to take tough decisions up here. I would argue that the balanced budget is not the issue. I mean, I know that's a sort of a first step. I get it. It's sort of the phrase of the day. I love the word surplus. You know, we don't talk about surplus a lot around here, but we've got to have it if you're going to pay down $18 trillion. By the way, if we get to a balanced budget in 10 years, we're going to grow the debt by $8 trillion minimally between now and 2025 by most estimates. So at $25 trillion of debt, if interest rates, as Senator King alluded to just a minute ago, go back to their 30-year historic average, that's untenable. We cannot manage that. There is no way to pay for that. You can't tax your way out of here. You can't cut your way out of here, in my view. Yes, I think Social Security and Medicare and pension benefits for federal employees all have to be amended, but not by current beneficiaries. The numbers have changed dramatically since these systems were developed back in the 30s, most of them. Life expectancies have gotten longer. The financial balance here of people working versus people in retirement, the demographic slide that we're talking about here, or the growth in the retirement age population. So I just have a question for Ms. McGinnis. I know you've dedicated a lot of years to this, and I've watched your work. I hope you'll stay involved with this, because I think this is the quintessential challenge of our generation. Help me understand the long-term implications of this debt. I understand what the benefits are of a balanced budget, but we've got to get to a surplus situation so we can start paying down this debt to a certain level. And I want to take just a second real quick. I absolutely believe that I disagree on one thing, and this is both sides. I think talking about debt as a percent and size of government as a percentage of GDP is an absolute fallacy. Let me give you an example. In business, you have fixed expenses. We have fixed expenses in federal government. Just because the economy grows 3% over 10 years doesn't mean the federal government needs to grow 10% over 3 years. So I think if we start looking at what the real needs are, what the missions are of each of our departments, and what money we need to spend, we'll end up developing a more realistic and more financially responsible long-term plan. I'm sorry it takes so much time, but I want to get to the question that is, Ms. McGinnis, what's your position relative, and how do you see the long-term potential in not just getting to a balanced budget in 10 years, but past that? Because in year 11 to year 20, Social Security quadruples, Medicare quadruples. I just don't, unless we have some type of serious conversation about the long-term implications of this demographic issue, I don't see how we're going to solve this debt crisis.
Senator, I agree with you that,
Microphone.
Yes, Senator, I agree with you. The key to helping get us out of this, in addition to the policy choices, is growing the economy. And that's true in the short, medium, and long term. And the long term, if we don't get control of the debt, that makes growing the economy all the more challenging. I also want to add that I agree with Ranking Member Sanders that the other key to this is making sure that when we grow the economy, that growth is shared in a way that we haven't been seeing in our economy. And we cannot thrive as a country unless we have a thriving, vibrant middle class and we get rid of some of the poverty that's been moving along. So when I always come here and encourage everybody to compromise and work together on the budget and the fiscal situation, that's true. I think the economy calls for that identical kind of cooperation, that growth and shared growth need to be worked at together. I just think taking the debt as a separate issue is the wrong way to look at it. I think getting control of the debt is an absolutely central component of growing the economy and ensuring that it grows in a way that works for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.